The mahogany walls of my father's study seemed to close in as he signed the final document with a flourish. The scratching of his Mont Blanc pen against paper felt like nails on a chalkboard. There, he said, sliding the trust fund transfer papers across his desk. It's done. All $2 million will go to Jennifer instead. My name is Emma Chen, and at 28, I was being written off by my family for the last time. My sister Jennifer stood by the window, trying to hide her triumphant smile as she watched our father disinherit me. Emma, my mother sighed from her perch on the leather armchair, if you just gone to law school like your sister, if you just applied yourself. I did apply myself, I said quietly, watching my father's expression darken. Just not to what you wanted. Playing with computers in your apartment isn't applying yourself, he snapped, standing up to tower over his desk. Your sister made partner at Thompson and Mitchell at 32. Meanwhile, you're what? Coding websites for small businesses, living in that tiny apartment in the city. I could have told them then. Could have explained that what they saw as playing with computers was actually the development of an AI-driven financial technology platform that was about to revolutionize global markets. Could have mentioned the Series B funding meeting I had next week with venture capitalists who'd already valued my company at $300 million. But I didn't. I learned long ago that my family only saw what they wanted to see. You're right, I said instead, standing up. I'm clearly a disappointment. Jennifer deserves the money more than I do. Jennifer shifted uncomfortably by the window. For a moment, I caught a glimpse of the sister I used to know, the one who'd shared ice cream with me after bad days at school, who'd helped me with my math homework before our parents' expectations had driven a wedge between us. Emma, she started, but I held up a hand. It's fine, Jen, really. Congratulations on making partner. You've earned this. As I walked toward the door, my mother called after me. Will you at least join us for dinner? Your father's reserved a table at Le Bernardin to celebrate Jennifer's promotion. I turned back one last time, taking in the scene. My father's disapproving frown, my mother's practiced worry, Jennifer's mix of triumph and guilt. The study walls were lined with law degrees and bar association awards. Not a single photo of me or my accomplishments in sight. I have a meeting, I said, but enjoy dinner. The drive back to the city gave me time to think. The trust fund had never been about the money. I had more than enough of my own now. It was about what it represented. My parents had set up identical trusts for Jennifer and me when we were born, meant to be released on our 33rd birthdays. But a clause allowed them to redirect the funds if they felt one of us was failing to live up to the family standards. My phone buzzed with a text from Maya, my CTO. VCs moved the meeting up to tomorrow. You ready? I smiled, thinking about the presentation we prepared. More than ready, I typed back. Time to change the game. When I reached my apartment, the tiny space my father had sneered at, I kicked off my heels and walked straight to my home office. The wall-mounted screens displayed real-time data from our AI system's latest test run. Numbers scrolled past, each one representing another successful prediction, another validation of what we built. The playing with computers my father dismissed had led to the creation of ATGNA, Adaptive Trading Heuristics and Enhanced Neural Analytics, an AI system that could predict market movements with unprecedented accuracy, processing millions of data points to identify patterns human traders could never spot. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Jennifer. I'm sorry about Dad, her text read. You know how he gets. The trust fund doesn't matter anyway, right? You're doing fine with your computer stuff. I stared at the message, noting how even Jennifer's attempt at kindness came with a subtle dismissal of my work. Thanks, Jen, I replied. Enjoy dinner. Turning back to my screens, I pulled up the pitch deck for tomorrow's EC meeting. The numbers were staggering. Our beta testing had shown ATGNA outperforming traditional trading algorithms by 312%. Major banks were already quietly reaching out, hoping to get early access to the technology. A soft chime announced an incoming video call from Maya. Her face appeared on one of the screens, her usual energy somewhat subdued. Hey, she said, how'd it go with the family? About as well as expected, I replied, running a hand through my hair. Dad signed over my trust fund to Jennifer. They're celebrating at Le Bernardin right now. Maya shook her head. Their loss. You ready to show those VCs tomorrow what real success looks like? I pulled up another screen showing ATHENA's latest test results. Actually, I've been thinking, what if we don't take the VC money? Maya's eyes widened. What? Emma, we're talking about a $50 million investment at a $300 million valuation. That's small thinking, I interrupted. Look at these numbers, Maya. We don't need VC funding. We could go public within a year, maintain complete control, and I smiled, thinking about my father's face at the IPO ceremony. Really show them what playing with computers can accomplish. Maya was quiet for a moment, processing. Then a slow grin spread across her face. You want to build an empire. I want to build something that even my father can't dismiss, I corrected. Something that changes the way the entire financial world operates. Your father's a corporate lawyer, Maya pointed out. Wouldn't he have heard about ATHENI if it's as revolutionary as we think? I laughed. Maya, my father still uses a BlackBerry and thinks coding is something you learn at a community college. He hasn't heard about ATHENA because he's never bothered to ask what I actually do. His loss, Maya said firmly. So what's the play? Cancel the VC meeting? I shook my head, an idea forming. No, we use it. But instead of seeking investment, we pitch partnerships, get them to open doors to their network of financial institutions. We don't need their money, we need their connections. 6 months after being disinherited, I stood in our new office space in downtown Manhattan, watching our team of engineers work on ATENA's final testing phase. The floor-to-ceiling windows offered a perfect view of the financial district, the same institutions that would soon be revolutionized by our technology. Emma, Maya called from her workstation, you need to see this. I walked over, coffee in hand, to look at her screen. The latest simulation results were beyond even our most optimistic projections. Athena wasn't just predicting market movements, it was identifying market-moving events before they happened. Is this accurate? I asked, leaning closer to study the data. Maya nodded, her eyes bright with excitement. Triple verified. The AI spotted patterns in social media, news articles, and trading behavior that predicted the Morgan Stanley merger announcement 3 days before it happened. If this had been real trading instead of a simulation, we would have made billions, I finished. Have you shown this to the compliance team? That's the best part, she said, pulling up another screen. Everything's completely legal. Athena isn't using insider information. It's just better at connecting publicly available data points than any human could ever be. My phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Hey sis, haven't heard from you in months. Parents are worried. Dad says your phone number at the apartment is disconnected. I smiled slightly. Of course it was disconnected. We'd moved the entire operation to a $40 million office space 6 blocks from Wall Street, but my family still thought I was playing with computers in my tiny apartment. I'm fine, I texted back. Just busy with work. Another buzz, this time from our head of legal, David. SEC meeting confirmed for next week. They're interested in the compliance protocols. That was an understatement. When word had gotten out that we were developing something revolutionary in the fintech space, the SEC had practically begged for a meeting. They wanted to understand our technology before it hit the market. Smart of them, really. Ms. Chen. Our receptionist's voice came through the intercom. There's a Mr. Thompson here to see you. He says he's from Thompson and Mitchell. My heart skipped a beat. Thompson and Mitchell, Jennifer's law firm. One of the largest corporate law firms in the city. Send him in, I said, straightening my blazer. James Thompson himself walked through the door, senior partner and my sister's boss. He looked exactly like the kind of lawyer my father admired. Silver-haired, perfectly tailored suit, exuding old money confidence. Ms. Chen, he said, extending his hand. Thank you for seeing me without an appointment. I hope to forgive the intrusion. But when we heard rumors about what you're developing here. You heard rumors? I asked, gesturing for him to sit. From whom? He smiled diplomatically. Let's just say certain financial institutions are very interested in your technology. They're our clients and they asked us to explore potential relationships. Does my sister know you're here? His smile faltered slightly. Jennifer? No, this meeting is strictly confidential. Though I must admit, I was surprised to learn you were her sister. She's never mentioned that she has a sister who plays with computers. I finished for him. I imagine she hasn't mentioned me much at all. Maya appeared in the doorway, tablet in hand. Emma, sorry to interrupt, but the Goldman Sachs team is here for their demo. Thompson's eyebrows shot up at the mention of Goldman Sachs. I could almost see him recalculating my worth in his head. Mr. Thompson, I said, standing, I apologize, but I have another meeting. If you'd like to discuss potential relationships, you can contact our legal team to schedule something. Of course, he said, rising quickly. But Ms. Chen, whatever Goldman is offering, we can match it. Thompson and Mitchell represents half the major financial institutions in the city. I walked into the door, feeling a strange satisfaction. It's not about the money, Mr. Thompson. It's about changing the game entirely. I'm sure you understand. After he left, Maya gave me a knowing look. You enjoyed that, didn't you? Maybe a little, I admitted. How long until he tells Jennifer about our little operation here? Given that your sister's firm represents billions in financial interests, I'd say about 5 minutes. Sure enough, my phone buzzed again. Emma, why didn't you tell me? Jim Thompson just came back from your office looking like he'd seen a ghost. What exactly are you working on? I put my phone away without responding. There would be time for family revelations later. Right now, we had a demonstration to prepare for. The Goldman Sachs team was already waiting in our conference room. 5 executives in expensive suits, trying not to look too eager. Their presence here was a coup. Getting Goldman as an early partner would open every door in the financial world. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, standing at the head of the table. What you're about to see will fundamentally change how the markets operate. But first, I need you all to sign these NDAs. The morning of our IPO, I stood in front of my mirror adjusting my suit. Chanel, not that my parents would recognize the difference. The Wall Street Journal sat on my desk, our company's impending public offering splashed across the front page. ATE and AI set to launch biggest tech IPO of the year. Expected valuation, $800 million. My phone had been buzzing nonstop for days. First Jennifer, then my mother. Finally, even my father had tried to reach out. I'd let their messages pile up, unanswered. They'd all be at the ceremony today anyway. The invitations had gone out weeks ago. Ready for this? Maya asked, appearing in my office doorway. She traded her usual tech company casual wear for a sharp business suit. Born ready, I replied, picking up my presentation folder. How's ATE&A performing this morning? Like a dream. The latest analysis shows her predicting market movements with 99.7% accuracy. The trading floor is buzzing. Everyone knows this is going to change everything. We made our way to the stock exchange where crowds had already gathered. Financial reporters lined the entrance, cameras flashing as we approached. I caught snippets of their commentary. Youngest female CEO to take a company public. Revolutionary AI trading technology. Already has contracts with major financial institutions. Inside, the exchange was electric with anticipation. Our team had gathered near the podium, along with representatives from every major bank and financial institution in the city. And there, in the front row, sat my family. My father's face was a study in conflicting emotions, pride warring with regret, confusion battling with awe. My mother kept dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. And Jennifer just stared at me like she was seeing her sister for the first time. Emma, my father stepped forward as I approached the podium. We had no idea. No, I said calmly, you didn't, because you never asked. Before he could respond, the exchange president called me to the stage. It was time to start the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, my voice carrying across the suddenly quiet trading floor. 3 years ago, I started coding ATE&A in a tiny apartment. People called it playing with computers. They said I was wasting my potential. They couldn't see that I was building the future. My eyes met my father's as I continued. Today, ATE&A processes more financial data in a second than all of Wall Street could analyze in a month. She predicts market movements with near-perfect accuracy, all while operating within strict ethical and legal guidelines. But more importantly, she represents what's possible when you believe in your vision, even when no one else does. The ceremony proceeded according to tradition: speeches, handshakes, the ringing of the bell. But the real moment came when our stock price appeared on the big board. The room erupted in cheers as the numbers soared past our projected opening. By lunch, my personal stake in the company was worth over $300 million, more than 100 times the trust fund my father had signed away. After the ceremony, my family approached hesitantly. Jennifer spoke first. "Emma, I'm so sorry," she said, her lawyer's composure cracking. "All this time, when you tried to tell us about your work." "Save it," I said, but not unkindly. "You all saw what you wanted to see." My father cleared his throat. "Princess, about the trust fund." "Keep it," I interrupted. "Jennifer earned it, just like I earned this. Sometimes the best thing someone can do for you is believe you'll fail. It makes success that much sweeter." "But we're family," my mother protested. "We should have supported you." I looked around at my real family, Maya and our team, the people who believed in the vision when it was just lines of code in a tiny apartment. "You're right, we are family," I said. "Which is why you're all invited to dinner tonight. I've reserved the private room at Le Bernardin. I hear it's a good place to celebrate success." My father's face reddened at the reference to that dinner 6 months ago, but he managed a small smile. "We'd be honored." Later that evening, as my family marveled at our company's technology and success over expensive wine, I thought about the long road that had led here, the nights coding while they thought I was wasting time, the meetings they dismissed as playing with computers, the victory they tried to give to someone else. My phone buzzed, a message from Maya. "Stock closed at double our projected value. You're officially a billionaire." I smiled, watching my father try to explain to his country club friends how his disappointing daughter had built an empire right under his nose. Success, I'd learned, wasn't about proving them wrong. It was about proving myself right. "Emma," Jennifer said, pulling me aside, "I need to tell you something. After Jim Thompson came back from your office that day, I looked up everything I could find about ATG&A. I started buying stock in every company that showed interest in your technology. I believed in you, even if I didn't show it." I raised an eyebrow. "Did you make money?" She grinned. "Enough to pay back that trust fund 10 times over." "Good," I said, "because I'm going to need a lawyer I can trust for our next expansion phase. Someone who understands both technology and family." Her eyes widened. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a chance to be part of something bigger than both of us. What do you say, sis? Ready to play with computers?" The next morning, as I walked into our office building, now officially the ATG&A Tower, I passed a young intern working on code in the lobby during her break. She reminded me of myself, back when everyone thought I was wasting time with computers. "Keep at it," I told her. "Sometimes the biggest success stories start in the smallest apartments." She looked up, recognition dawning in her eyes. "Ms. Chen, I read about how you built ATG&A. My parents think I'm crazy for choosing programming over law school. But you have a vision," I finished for her. "Hold on to that. And remember, the people who underestimate you today will be reading about you tomorrow." As I rode the elevator to my office, I thought about legacy. Not the kind my father had tried to force on me, but the kind you build yourself, one line of code at a time. Athena wasn't just changing the financial world, she was proving that success doesn't always look like people expect it to. And sometimes, the best inheritance isn't the one you're given. It's the one you create for yourself. The screen of my iPhone lit up with a number I hadn't seen in 2 years. My hands trembled slightly as I stared at it, memories flooding back of that devastating night when everything fell apart. Mark's name flashed insistently, demanding attention just like he always had. I let it ring 4 times before answering. "Hello?" My voice was steady, calmer than I felt. "Sarah?" Mark's voice cracked. He sounded different, desperate, broken. Nothing like the confident man who'd walked out on me 2 years ago after gambling away everything we built together. "My name is Sarah Mitchell, and at 34, I was listening to my estranged husband cry into the phone after destroying our life savings and abandoning me with crushing debt. The irony wasn't lost on me. I've made a huge mistake," he sobbed. "I should never have left. You have to let me explain." I gazed around my office, my real estate office, to be precise, taking in the awards lining the walls, the stack of closing documents on my desk, and smiled. 2 years ago, this conversation would have shattered me. Now it was just another Tuesday afternoon. "Sure, Mark," I said, keeping my tone neutral. "Let's meet. We can talk about everything." He exhaled sharply, relief evident in his voice. Really? God, Sarah, thank you. I knew you'd understand. You always understood. That's what he counted on. My understanding, my forgiveness, my tendency to see the best in people even when they showed me their worst. It's what had kept me with him through the small lies that became bigger, through the investment opportunities that drained our savings account, through the credit card debt he hid until it was too late. Cafe Luna, tomorrow at 2. I suggested, naming the coffee shop where he'd first told me about cryptocurrency, his eyes shining with dreams of quick riches. We can discuss everything there. Yes, perfect, he agreed quickly. I'll tell you everything, explain about the crypto market crash, about DeFi and how they promised. Tomorrow, Mark, I cut him off. We can talk about it all tomorrow. After hanging up, I leaned back in my chair, my mind drifting to that night 2 years ago. I'd come home from my job as a middle school math teacher to find Mark pacing our small apartment, his face ashen. It's gone, he'd said, his voice hollow. All of it. DeFi. The platform collapsed. They took everything. I'd stared at him, uncomprehending at first. What do you mean, everything? Our savings, the house down payment, the investment accounts, he'd swallowed hard. I thought I could double it, triple it. The returns they were promising. The room had started spinning as the magnitude of what he was saying hit me. Nearly $200,000. Every penny we'd saved over 8 years of marriage, gone in a crypto scam. But that wasn't even the worst part. There's more, he'd whispered, unable to meet my eyes. I took out some loans, credit cards in our names. I was trying to recover the losses, make it back before you noticed. $50,000 in credit card debt. He forged my signature, opened joint accounts, maxed them out chasing his crypto dreams. And now he was running away, leaving me to deal with the aftermath. I can't face this, he'd said, grabbing his pre-packed bag. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry. I'd watched him walk out, too stunned to cry, too numb to stop him. The next day, I'd learned he'd quit his job at the tech startup where he worked. His phone was disconnected. He'd vanished, leaving me with nothing but debt and broken promises. But that night, sitting among the ruins of our life together, something had shifted inside me. I'd always been good with numbers, had always understood the power of compound interest and smart investments. I tried to tell Mark that get-rich-quick schemes never worked. That patient, strategic growth was the key to building wealth. He'd never listened. He wanted fast money, crypto millions, the excitement of high-risk trading. And now here I was at 32, starting over with less than nothing. The next morning, I called in sick to work and started making plans. First, I contacted a lawyer who specialized in debt and divorce cases. Then I called my brother Mike, who'd been in real estate for years. I need a change, I told him. I need to rebuild, and I need to do it my way. Mike had listened, really listened, as I laid out my plan. I'd always helped him with the financial aspects of his real estate deals, understanding market analysis and investment potential. Now I wanted to do it myself. You'd be great at it, he'd said. But what about the teaching job? The benefits, the stability? I'll keep teaching for now, I'd replied. But nights, weekends, I'm going to study for my real estate license. I'm going to learn everything I can about property investment, about building real wealth. And I did. For 6 months, I worked my teaching job, studied real estate in every spare moment, and systematically negotiated with creditors to manage the debt Mark had left me with. I lived on rice and beans, sold everything I could, and put every extra penny toward paying down those credit cards. I got my real estate license on a Wednesday. By Friday, I had my first listing through Mike's connections. A month later, I had 3 more. It turned out my teaching skills translated perfectly to real estate. I could break down complex market data for clients, help them understand their options, guide them through the biggest purchase of their lives. Within a year, I paid off half the credit card debt through commissions and careful budgeting. 6 months after that, I opened my own boutique real estate firm specializing in investment properties and first-time homebuyers. I understood their fears, their dreams of building something secure. I'd lived it. Now, sitting in my office 2 years after Mark walked out, I was debt-free and running a successful business. My firm had just closed its 100th deal, and I had a waiting list of clients drawn to my reputation for honest, strategic investment advice. My phone buzzed with a text from Mark. Thank you for agreeing to meet. I have so much to tell you. I smiled, picking up the manila envelope on my desk, the one I'd been saving for just this moment. Inside were documents that would show Mark exactly what I'd built while he was chasing crypto fantasies. Tomorrow at Cafe Luna, he'd learn that sometimes the slow, steady path was the one that led to real success. And maybe, just maybe, he'd finally understand what he'd walked away from. I opened my laptop and pulled up the latest property listings. I had a client meeting in an hour, a young couple looking to buy their first home. They'd saved carefully, done their research, and were ready to build their future the right way. Cafe Luna hadn't changed much in 2 years. The same rustic wooden tables, the same artisanal coffee menu, the same large windows overlooking downtown. I arrived 15 minutes early, choosing a table in the corner where Mark and I had once planned our future overlaps and dreams. I set my leather portfolio on the table, along with the manila envelope. My real estate company's logo, Mitchell Properties, was embossed in gold on both. A small detail, but one I knew wouldn't escape Mark's notice. He walked in at exactly 2 p.m., and I barely recognized him. Gone was the designer suit, the expensive watch, the carefully styled hair. Instead, he wore wrinkled chakis and a faded polo shirt that had seen better days. His face was thinner, with dark circles under his eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. "Sarah," he breathed, stopping short when he saw me. "You look amazing." I did look good, I knew that. Success had given me a confidence that no designer clothes could match. My navy blazer and silk blouse weren't just expensive, they were earned. "Sit down, Mark," I said, gesturing to the chair across from me. "Would you like some coffee?" He slumped into the seat, running a hand through his unkempt hair. "I actually can't afford." "I'll get it," I cut in, signaling the barista. "Still take your Americano with an extra shot." He nodded, looking almost ashamed. Once our drinks arrived, we sat in silence for a moment, the weight of 2 years hanging between us. "Sarah," he started. "Let me go first," I interrupted, opening my portfolio. "Before you tell me whatever you came to say, I want to show you something." I pulled out a series of photographs, laying them on the table one by one. Beautiful homes, modern office buildings, luxury apartments, all properties I'd helped clients buy or sell over the past 2 years. "These are just a few of my recent deals," I said calmly. "Mitchell Properties specializes in investment real estate. We've closed over 100 transactions in the past year alone." Mark's eyes widened as he looked at the photos, then at me, then back at the photos. "Mitchell Properties? You started your own company?" I nodded, pulling out more documents. "After you left, I had two choices. I could let your mistakes destroy me, or I could rebuild. I chose to rebuild." His hands trembled slightly as he reached for his coffee. "The debt? I know I left you with $50,000 in credit card debt," I finished for him. "Yes, you did. Would you like to see how I handled that?" From the manila envelope, I extracted a stack of credit card statements, all stamped paid in full in red ink. I laid them out one by one, watching his face as realization dawned. "That's impossible," he whispered. "How did you?" "The same way anyone builds real wealth, Mark. Hard work, smart investments, and patience. No crypto scams, no get-rich-quick schemes. Just strategy and dedication." I pulled out my company's latest financial statement. Mitchell Properties is now worth more than we ever had in savings. The difference is, this wealth is real. It's built on actual property, actual transactions, actual value. Mark slumped in his chair, his coffee untouched. I don't know what to say. When everything crashed with Defimax, I thought, I couldn't face you. I couldn't face anyone. "So you ran," I said, my voice steady but cold. "You left me to deal with the debt, the creditors, the shame. Do you know what that was like, Mark? Having to explain to everyone why my husband had disappeared." He flinched at my words. "I was a coward," he admitted. "I've spent the last 2 years trying to recover, trying to make it back, but everything I touched turned to dust. Every investment, every opportunity. Because you're still looking for the easy way," I said, pulling out one final document. "You haven't learned anything." "What's that?" he asked, eyeing the paper warily. "Divorce papers," I replied, sliding them across the table. "Already filled out, just waiting for your signature." His face crumpled. "Sarah, please, I came back because I still love you. We can start over, rebuild together." I've changed, I swear. I study him for a moment, remembering all the times I believed his promises, all the times I'd given him another chance. But I wasn't that person anymore. You want to know the biggest lesson I learned after you left? I asked, leaning forward slightly. Real value isn't about quick returns or crypto millions. It's about building something sustainable, something that helps others while helping yourself. I tapped the stack of property photos. Every one of these transactions represents a family finding their dream home, an entrepreneur starting their business, an investor building their portfolio the right way. That's real wealth, Mark. That's real success. He stared at the divorce papers, his hands clenched in his lap. I have nothing, he said quietly. No job, no savings, nowhere to live. I've been staying on friends' couches, barely getting by. I thought if I could just come back. You thought I'd save you, I finished, like I always did before. But I'm not here to rescue you anymore, Mark. I'm here to finally close this chapter of my life and move forward. Mark's hands shook as he reached for the divorce papers, his coffee now cold and forgotten. What if? He swallowed hard. What if I told you I have a lead on recovering some of the DeFi money? There's this lawyer who specializes in crypto fraud. I held up my hand, stopping him mid-sentence. Are you seriously trying to pitch me another scheme right now? The familiar glint of desperate hope in his eyes told me everything. He hadn't changed at all. He was still looking for the easy way out, still trying to chase phantom riches instead of building something real. It's not a scheme, he insisted, leaning forward. This lawyer, he's already helped other victims recover their investments. We cold. There is no we anymore, Mark. I interrupted, my voice firm. And there's nothing to recover. That money is gone. But that's not why you're really here, is it? He fell silent, unable to meet my eyes. I waited, letting the moment stretch until he finally spoke again. I saw the article about you in Business Weekly, he admitted quietly. Your company's expansion, the new development project downtown. When I realized how successful you become, you thought you could come back and benefit from everything I've built? I finished for him. The same way you once thought you could get rich quick with crypto. Tears welled in his eyes, but I felt nothing. No pity, no anger, just a calm certainty that I was finally closing the door on this chapter of my life. I was proud of you, he said, his voice breaking. Reading about everything you've accomplished. I realized what a fool I'd been, throwing away our marriage for. Stop, I said firmly. You weren't proud of me, Mark. You were envious. There's a difference. I pulled out one more document from my portfolio, a cashier's check. His eyes widened when he saw the amount, $50,000. This is the exact amount of debt you left me with, I explained, placing the check on top of the divorce papers. I'm offering you a chance to do one right thing. Sign the papers and the money is yours. What's the catch? He asked, suspicion creeping into his voice. The catch is that you disappear from my life completely. No contact, no attempts to reconnect, no trying to leverage our past relationship for your benefit. You take this money and you do what you should have done 2 years ago, start over. And if I don't sign? I smiled, gathering my photos and documents back into my portfolio. Then I proceed with a contested divorce and sue you for the fraud you committed by opening those credit cards in my name. My lawyers have built quite a case, including proof that you forged my signature. That's felony fraud, Mark. Want to guess how many years that carries? The color drained from his face. You wouldn't. The Sarah you knew 2 years ago wouldn't, I agreed. But I'm not her anymore. You taught me a valuable lesson when you walked out. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them face the consequences of their actions. His hands trembled as he reached for the pen I'd placed on the table. For a moment, I thought I saw a flash of the man I'd once loved, the one who made me laugh, who dreamed big dreams with me on Sunday mornings. But that man was gone, replaced by someone I barely recognized. As he signed the papers, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. It was really over. The check won't bounce, he asked, and I almost laughed at the irony. Even now, he was worried about being scammed. Unlike crypto tokens, Mark, real estate generates real money. The check is good. He stood up, clutching the check like a lifeline. I really did love you, Sarah. No, I said softly, you loved the idea of me, the supportive wife who would always be there to clean up your messes. But that's not love, Mark. That's dependence. After he left, I sat there for a while, finishing my coffee and thinking about the journey that had brought me here. The night he'd walked out had felt like the end of my world, but it had actually been the beginning. My phone buzzed with a text from Jessica, my newest agent. Client meeting in 30 minutes. The Hendersons are ready to make an offer on the downtown property. I smiled, gathering my things. The Hendersons were a young couple, reminded me a bit of Mark and me when we first started out. But unlike us, they were doing things the right way. Careful planning, thorough research, no shortcuts. As I drove to my office, I thought about the check I'd just given Mark. Some might think I was crazy, giving him money after everything he'd done. But I knew it wasn't really about him. It was about me, about finally cutting all ties with my past and moving forward without any loose ends. The next morning, I stood in front of my team at our weekly meeting. 20 ambitious real estate agents, all drawn to my firm's reputation for integrity and smart investment strategies. Remember, I told them, our job isn't just to sell properties. It's to help people build sustainable wealth, to guide them towards smart decisions that will serve them well in the long run. There are no shortcuts to success, but there is a proven path. Later that day, I received a final text from Mark. Thank you. I'm sorry for everything. I didn't respond. Instead, I focused on my computer screen, where I was reviewing plans for our newest project, a mixed-use development that would bring affordable housing and small business spaces to a struggling neighborhood. This was real value, real impact, real success. The manila envelope with the signed divorce papers sat on my desk, ready to be filed. Next to it was a framed copy of the Business Weekly article Mark had mentioned. The headline read, "From Teacher to Real Estate Mogul, How Sarah Mitchell Built a $1 Million Empire from Nothing." But they got it wrong. I hadn't built it from nothing. I'd built it from lessons learned, from hard work, from the ashes of broken dreams and betrayal. And in the end, that made it all the more valuable. I opened my calendar to check my next appointment. Another client meeting, another chance to help someone build their future the right way. This was my legacy now, not the money or the success, but the knowledge that I was helping others avoid the mistakes I'd learned from. The sun was setting over the city skyline, casting a golden glow through my office windows. From up here, I could see several properties I'd helped clients purchase, each one representing a dream realized through patience and persistence. Mark's final text still glowed on my phone screen, but I deleted it without a second thought. Some chapters need to stay closed, some bridges need to stay burned, and some lessons need to stay learned. Besides, I had work to do. Real work, building real value, one property at a time.